Hey guys, have you ever gone to a campground and you're like, well, where do we want to park?
Today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about finding the perfect campsite in a campground. Let's do it.
So guys, when you're going to a campground, obviously you've chosen a campground for its features. It could be on a river, it could be the best pool.
Could be close to Disneyland.
It could be close to Disneyland. It could be that there's water slides, horseback riding, all of that.
Trains.
So what we want to talk about is when you pick those features, how do you park in the park that has those features, like Silverwood, and experience those features the best? So you have to decide if you're going to be really close to those features or if you want to be a little bit farther away and have more privacy. See, all of these things, they fit in together.
Well, I mean, some campgrounds, the feature isn't in the campground. It's close to the campground. Disneyland, for instance, we stayed at the Anaheim RV Park and there is no privacy.
No.
It's not a fancy campground. It's basically a parking lot, but it's within walking distance to the Magic Kingdom. So there's the benefit in that. So you're not going to that campground for the campground's features, but for what's nearby.
Yes.
But some campgrounds are the feature.
Yeah.
And so what are you saying? Like, what, you want to park close to those amenities or farther away, or what's your point?
Some people, when they pull into the campground, all the kids are saying, park right beside the playground.
Right.
So what do? You park right beside the playground.
If you have kids. If you don't have kids and you want it to be a little bit more peaceful and quiet, then specifically choose to park away from the playground. Yeah. So that's what we're saying. It's very independent. It's very individual for what people want for their particular needs in their situation.
Yeah. Like right here, there is a main road and you can park closer to it or farther away from it.
Like the highway?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like this site right here, we can hear the highway, but where Bessie is just over there a little bit, we can't hear the highway from there. So again, that's maybe one thing you need to consider is the noise factor.
Yeah, in Okotoks it was that way too, remember? At nighttime, right up against the, hey, I don't like that highway noise. It's like, well, that's where you're parked.
There's nothing we can do about it. Also, this area right here of this campground is under construction. As you can see, there's a few construction-y kind of things. They're really good about not, working too late or too early in the morning, but keep an eye open for that. If you're at a campground that's expanding, you might not want to be right by the construction zone.
Renovations.
Yeah. All right, let's carry on to the next location.
Yeah. My foot over, but it rolls. I might be in trouble. Yeah! What? Whoa! One of those features might be a pond. You might want to park because you have a dog close to a place where your dog can go off leash or go for a walk. And that way you're not in the middle of a park and it's so far away from getting those things done.
You guys, another thing that you want to consider, if there is a body of water, this campground has two bodies of water. There's the pond and the lagoon, is safety. So if you have young kids that like to wander around a bit and you're concerned about their safety, you might want to park a little farther away from the water, not quite so close to the water. But I'll tell you, this is very relaxing. It's very peaceful out here. We love this.
So it all will depend on the features that you want for the needs that you have. Lisa and I boondock lots, so when we pull into a campground, we want water, sewer, and power close to the laundry and also close to showers. Because we want to get everything taken care of before we go back out and boondock some more, okay? So you're going to be wanting to get all of those features where they're close to you so you can accommodate all of those things. We went into Las Vegas Campground, Thousand Trails, and we were there for, I think, 24 hours. And in that 24-hour period, we swam in the pool, We did probably 5 loads of our own laundry in our own laundry machine in our own rig, which needed water, power, and sewer. And we could hang everything out to dry because it was so nice and finally so warm that it dried within a half an hour. It was fantastic. And those were the services that we really needed for that time that we stopped for that short period of time. And so we wanted to make sure that we were in a place where all those things could get accommodated. Sometimes you're coming into a campground and you don't need sewer, water, or power because you're just parking for one night and no services or putting up a tent is all that you're doing. So it's always about the features. Oh yeah, and when we were in Seaside, we drove through the campground trying to see where we could pick up a Wi-Fi signal so we could do some work. Because that was what we really needed. So we went close to the laundry building and said, okay, we can get Wi-Fi here, so that's where we parked. So that'll happen also.
Okay, so now let's talk about the actual site that you're going to choose.
Yeah.
This one right here is pretty level. In fact, almost every site in this entire campground is pretty level. But we've definitely been to campgrounds where the sites are not level.
Remember Florence?
Yes.
Okay, back all the way up this hill and gun it to get to the top of this. Oh, there
crazy.
You made it. It was like, wow,
Totally.
that was crazy.
Or yeah,
and you don't want to start rolling on when you're at one of those campgrounds.
No, you don't. And even when you're on the site, even though you backed up this hill to get there, you still have to like put wood underneath the tires and all kinds of stuff to get it level.
Funny stuff.
So, I mean, and that's okay. If you're, especially boondocking, you're probably going to have a harder time finding a level site, unless you're in the Arizona desert because it's totally flat everywhere. But anyway, yeah, so know how to pick a site for being level.
Yeah.
And then out in the open.
Out in the open versus in the trees.
Yeah.
Now there's another thing that what you should do when you're checking your sites. Hang on.
Out in the open means more sunshine.
Yeah.
Also means more wind and no protection from elements of weather.
But you can see more.
But it feels good. Feels great. In the trees means shade.
Yeah.
And more protection from weather, but also that trees can fall on you, and we've had that happen. Not with us, but we've seen trees fall on RVs in big windstorms.
Or nuts.
Oh, it's acorns.
Acorns.
Right. Hitting the roof all night long.
Bang, bang.
So yeah, so definitely people will have a preference. We prefer out in the open. Some other people, other campground hosts, even for this campground, are preferring to be in the trees. So it's totally a personal thing, but you decide what you want. Okay, then what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say power. We've been to some campgrounds where you need to check the power post before you actually set up because a whole bunch of them are compromised. They have power, they have poor power, they have no ground, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
All of these ones are fine. These ones are all great. Haven't heard even one person say that the power was of concern. It's not here.
So how do you check the power?
Well, I have one of these little units here, and I just plug it in, and when it goes green, it is good to go. And then I know that I'm parking and I'm going to have power.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it doesn't turn on, I go to a different site.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely check that out. You don't want to get all unhooked and level and then plug in and then realize you don't have power that you thought you were going to have.
Now, we were in Drumheller,
hang on.
and there was no hanging-ons. We were in Drumheller, and there was a whole group of sites that had no fire pits.
Oh, before we talk about fire pits, we're going back to power. Pay attention to whether or not you need 30 amp power, 50 amp power, or 15 amp power.
Yeah.
So that's just, if you're new, you might not know that. So just pay attention to what kind of power you need for your rig. Okay, fire pits, yes.
First of all, you don't want to be paying for 50 amp and then using none.
Yeah, sometimes they charge extra for 50.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Fire pit. Yeah, 50 amp.
So how do you tell, Kent? How can you tell 50 and 30?
There's a 50 amp, that's a 30 amp, and this is 15 amp. There's how you turn on your 50.
And how do you tell? So 50 is the straight up and down?
Yeah, this is your 30. And this is your 15.
Okay.
Or 20 actually. Well, it says 20, it might be 15.
So 50 is the straight up and down?
50.
And then 30 has the angled things?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Fire pits. Some campground locations in that campground don't have fire pits. And you don't want to get there and say, excuse me, our place doesn't have a fire pit. And you say, yeah, I know, yours doesn't have a fire pit.
Yeah.
Well, I want one. Well, you can't have one.
And even certain sites within a campground. Some sites will, some sites won't.
Sometimes.
So pay attention to that.
Pay attention. Don't pull in and make sure when you pull in, you check everything off your list so that you don't set up and have to move.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
Okay, the other thing I want to point out is your level of privacy. I think we've mentioned this already, but
Yeah.
check out this. So these sites along here are on the fence line.
Like this. There's no sites that way.
I'll show you. See how you can turn around. So there you go. There's a big path along here, so people will be walking along here, but there is no other campers along here. Just a big open field. So this would be an ideal site if you are really looking for a nice, quiet, private area to camp in. However, just so you know, some sites are seasonal. So
Yeah.
you might drive through a campground and say, oh, I want to park in this site right here. And you're gonna go to the office to do your check-in, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, you can't camp there. That's a seasonal site. So,
Yeah, and you're like, come on, it's a nice site.
and
Now-
sometimes the best sites are the seasonals,
Now,
unfortunately.
when you're going to some campgrounds, you drive through, you pick your site, and then you go back and register for that site because that site was open. And then there's other campgrounds where every single site is in their reservation system and it's booked. And it's booked 3 days from now, so it might be open today, but you're staying a week, it's not open.
Right, right.
So you don't have a choice of going anywhere. So when you get to a campground and you don't like your site, let's say they've put you in 7,000, and you're like, I like 7,016, and you go to the office, they say, sure. Well, now you have the option of moving. So just because you've been placed in a site doesn't mean you can't move. It just means that you can't move if everything's booked.
Yeah, so just double check that
Yeah.
for sure. So speaking of those reservations, if
Yes.
you're camping with a group of friends and you
Uh-huh.
want to bring like 4, 5, or 6 rigs together, you pretty much need to reserve that in February
Yep.
or March, because a lot of the campgrounds will be booked. And you might get one site here and there, certain dates, but to find a group all together is going to be a lot trickier. So do that ahead of time if you can.
And some campgrounds, that'll never happen. You can't ever get 10 units together in lots of different campgrounds.
Yeah.
But some campgrounds, you can.
Yeah.
This one is set up for it.
So always ask.
Yes.
All right, let's mosey on, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here's a really lovely site. There's trees everywhere. There's, picnic table, fire pit, and there's a train right there. So there are lots of campgrounds that have a train really close by. And if you don't like that noise
Yes.
and that really loud rumble or the horn,
And the screech of wheels turning.
yeah, then you probably don't want this site. Just saying.
Although this is a site that a lot of people want.
Oh yeah. Okay guys, now here's a really nice site. It's small, so you're not going to bring a giant rig in here. It has full hookups, I think, yep. The picnic table's on a bit of a wonky angle, but check out this view. What? That's amazing. So when you're thinking about choosing a site, the view might be the most important thing to you. So if that's the case, this is perfect. But there's going to always be a trade-off.
Yeah. Now that's sunset. So glorious, beautiful, just the glow in the evening as it goes down. That's the perfect.
If you're looking for sunset views, this would be the site. But there's a road right here. So
Yeah.
it's a dirt road that's going to kick up a lot of dust every time anybody drives by. It's slow speed limit. It's only 30 kilometers an hour. And really the only traffic we've seen is campground
campers.
traffic, a few horse trailers for the farms down the road, but that's about it. So, but again, for every benefit that you're going to find at a site, you're going to find, for every pro, there's going to be a con.
Yeah.
So you just got to decide what's more important to you.
This campground is set up for multiple spots as a group, and the group can even rent that building there, and they can have a fire in the wood stove inside, or a fire at the fire pit outside, and everybody here can be in one group. This is a great way to do group camping. Call your campground, find out if they accommodate groups and what the facilities are that they offer for those groups, because you don't want to go to a great campground and they say, oh, our group campground area is way over there, away from the canoeing, away from the pickleball, away from all of the other things that you want, away from the pool, away from the hot tub. And it's like, come on, don't take us away from all the stuff we're there for, but check it out. Look at the map.
Well, that's about it we have for you today. So I would love to hear what you guys think is your priority for your picking a campsite.
Yeah, and if you've never actually gone camping and this is your year, well, hopefully this helped.
I hope so. So leave in the comments below your number one priority when you're looking for a site, or maybe your top 3, or however you want to do that. Definitely let us know what you avoid.
Yeah.
You know, at all costs. You avoid an unlevel site, or you avoid traffic noise, or whatever it is.
Or setting up a second time.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's really, this community feeds into each other, and your experience is valuable, and we want to know what your experience is so that we can help each other. So anyway, you guys, that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. My name is Lisa.
My name's Kent. We're Living Light RV.
We are grabbing life by the tail. We're taking you guys along with us as we learn about RV life and as we just travel and do so many fun things. You guys have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next Friday. Is there a spider on my head?
No. No spider.
Kent just found a spider in my hair a minute ago.
They always come in plurals.
Spiders.
Spiders.